I wanted to come on and talk today about an experience that I just had, and it is around the topic of balancing divine, masculine, and feminine energies. And so I thought I'd come on and share in case it helps you with your perspective or it resonates. And so I was on a walk and I was listening to another energy healer, and she was channeling Cleopatra, and the topic was embodying queen energy. And so she was talking a lot about divine masculine and feminine energies, and like what the difference between like king energy and queen energy is, not like gender necessarily, but the energetics like up underneath those things. And on my walk, I came across this turtle, and unfortunately this turtle had journeyed to his next incarnation, and it had obviously only been like a day or two since he had passed. And so I picked him up and I was like, oh no. And I asked the turtle if I could help him transition to the next side. And I was like, I would love to take you to a place that we can enjoy and like relax together as you make this transition. And then I could hear his spirit, and he was saying he would love that. And so because the energy healer was talking about Cleopatra, I was like, how about we go to an oasis in Egypt? I was like, it has this like lovely water and there's palm trees everywhere. It was great. And he was like, would love that. And so in my mind, as I was on the walk, I was like in my higher self form, my multidimensional form, and we were sitting there like just enjoying the scenery. And then I went about on my walk, and then I get home, and before I had a client session, I was like, I'm gonna go lay down and close my eyes. I was gonna take a nap, but I was like, nah, this feels like we're about to go deep into my subconscious to be talking about some stuff. And I was like, that's fine. And so I lay on my bed, and I was like, I'm gonna go visit my turtle friend at the oasis. And so me and him are there, and I'm like, hey, are you enjoying your time here? And he was like, this is great. And I said, yeah, it's wonderful. It's very relaxing. And I was like, what do you want to do? And he asked me to like call in like some food and like just different things for him, right? So I built him like this little habitat situation for his enjoyment. And I'm like laying in a chair like with my fruity drink, and we're just watching the water. And then a younger version of me came forward, and I was like, oh, hey. And I'm looking at her, and it was me in my younger 20s. And I was like, I'm so happy to have you here. I was like, let's like vibe and enjoy and relax. And I was like, is there anything that you want to do? And she was like, I would love to listen to some EDM music, like electronic dance music. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And so we put some on, and we're like listening and like vibing. And she was like, I really wish that we could go back to music festivals, because I used to be like very heavy in music festival scene. Like I would be going to shows like every other weekend. I'd be going to festivals all the time. Like I was like in it. Okay. That's actually what spurred my spiritual awakening in the first place. And it was just like a very freeing atmosphere for me to be in. And it really helped me find me, if you will. Okay. So there's always like this really special place in my heart for that. And so I was like, we can go to one right now. I was like, let's go. And so I transported her to like a giant music festival, like Tomorrowland or something, for those of y'all that know what that is. It's like one of the biggest music festivals ever. So we went, and we're like hanging out in my mind. And she was like, isn't this so fun? And I was like, yeah, this is great. And she was like, I would really like to do this in the actual world. Okay. Like the 3D world. And I was like, yeah, we can definitely do that. I was like, I would still love to do that with you. I even went to an EDM show like a couple weeks ago, and it was super fun. 7 Lions, for those of you who know what it is. Fantastic. Highly recommends. But it was very soul rejuvenating. And I was like, we can do that. And she was like, you won't. And I was like, what do you mean? And she was like, you're not going to do that because you're afraid of what will happen. And I was like, what do you mean? And she was like, okay, be fully transparent. I had my spiritual awakening spur from a music festival, but as I got further into it, it became a coping mechanism. And I got into some coping mechanisms that were not healthy. And at that time, it got out of hand, and my life got really slippery and out of control for a minute. not to like a huge detrimental point, but partying became at the forefront of my life. Basically, okay. And in some capacities, that really helped me heal, because I didn't get that when people usually get that, like in their 20s, because I owned a business, I was going to school, I was taking care of my grandmother, I was taking care of my son, like I was just like busy, like all the time. I also grew up in like a conservative household, and just didn't have the time and space to do those things. And so when I got into it, I got into it. Okay. And there's like this deep internal fear, apparently, like way down in my subconscious, of if we have too much fun, that's gonna happen again. And I was like, wow. I was like, I didn't realize like how deep that was in my subconscious. And I realized that that is why I had been experiencing some quote unquote blocks in my business, because for the majority of my life, I had to be in masculine energy, like really heavy masculine energy, to keep myself safe because of trauma that I had experienced in childhood, teenage, young adult. Then I flipped into complete feminine energy, like all the way in, okay? And that was very unhealthy too. Then when I started my spiritual business and got into it, I went all the way into masculine energy, right? All the way in. Not healthy, because you really got to have a balance between these things. And that is something that I have been continually working on and healing, is bringing a balance to those two sides. And it's been great. Like I have been making huge strides in stepping back into my feminine energy and allowing myself to have fun in my business and life, right? And not being so like hustle grind energy, and like only taking inspired action, because you also got to do the opposite end of that, of like trusting the universe and getting in the right flow space, the right flow state, taking intentional steps, not just inspired action steps, which are different. Okay. And it's been a wild, I would say like dichotomy, right? It's not really dichotomy. It's, you can have both of them together at like 100% and 100% in order to see like, not the success that you want, but to be in full alignment with self and with the universe and your reality and the people and beings around you. So my masculine side, like while she was talking, was like, yeah, I don't trust you. Because now I'm sitting back as the observer, watching my masculine and feminine energy like speak to one another, and my masculine energy was like, I don't trust you. My masculine energy was like, the way I do things, we stay safe and we get things done. And I was like, whoa. I was like, that's not healthy. I was like, okay, I do not want to speak to my feminine energy that way. And so me as like the mediator was like, listen, you both work better together. I was like, we can't be off kilter in one side or the other, because masculine energy is very like 3D, and it's very like narrow type of like perception. And then like the feminine is more of like the free flowy, like innovative, like creative, imaginative type of energy. There's a freedom, if you will. And then masculine energy is not necessarily like not constricting, but structure, right? But if you have too much of one or the other, things start getting like slippery. And so I was showing them what happens when we swing too hard one way or the other. And I was like, we really need to like come together and all trust each other, that we all have our own gifts and talents and that they complement each other, right? And so after I explained that to them, it's like something clicked inside of me, and I was like, there it is. Like I finally feel the unity between each, because I was like, y'all aren't separate from one another. And both of them like put their hands together like this and like merge into like one being. And I was like, now how do we feel? And they're like, we feel free and safe. Like free to be creative, imaginative, and to get in the flow space, but then knowing that we're safe and secure over here on the other end, right? Because of the structure. And I was like, yeah, that's a much better feeling. Right? Like we want to have fun and have structure. Okay, there can be both. And so I wanted to share that interesting experience. I really appreciate that turtle. Like that turtle really helped me open up the window to speak with both of them like that. If you're into shamanism, like turtles are very wise beings. And they're representative of like taking your time. Like we always see that with like the tortoise and the hare, but not rushing things and just letting sometimes like energies figure themselves out. Like I had to swing too hard both directions in order to see how that's not beneficial for anybody. Right? And that I need to trust myself more. Trust my feminine energy, trust my masculine energy, and let them kind of like do their thing and web back and forth and check in with both of them, right? So let me know if this resonated or if you needed to hear this. It's not only applying, like it applies to me in my life and business. I know not everybody like has their own business, but if you're thinking about starting one, I'm just gonna let you know this is gonna come up. Okay, because sometimes I'll be taking all these inspired action steps and they get me nowhere because I'm not getting into the right flow space or the right intention or the right what's the word I'm looking for? Like the right intentional space beforehand. I'm just taking a whole bunch of like whatever steps and not checking in with myself if it's something that I'm even enjoying or want to do or is fun. And then sometimes I'll be too far in my feminine energy and not taking enough action steps in my business, right? And then building resentment against taking steps altogether and just wanting to be on Pinterest looking at magical, whimsical stuff all day, which that's great. But we gotta be doing structural things too. So let me know if this resonated with you. Let me know in the comments. And I'm sending you and your inner children a big giant hug. And remember to like and subscribe if you like hearing chats like this, my TED Talks, my updates on my life. And then remember to check the description down here below for ways that we can work together. I have individual energy healing sessions, coaching sessions. I have a one-on-one mentorship program, Create Your Legacy. And then in June, I have a Boss Babes Inspire Group Mastermind coming up, and that is for spiritual entrepreneurs like energy healers and coaches. So sending you and your inner children a whole lot of love. I love you very much. But hopefully we can all learn something from my turtle friends. And I hope you have a very great day.